Gary Nasai Minasan and happy Chinese New Year to all of my Chinese friends out there. This episode of Kamen Rider Geats is really good. We finally get to see Kawa making an excellent performance once again with the Ninja Tycoon combo. I love Ninja, man. Ninja Tycoon is like the best thing that ever happened in Kamen Rider Geats. Like every single scene when it comes to peak Ninja Tycoon, the scene is gonna be really amazing, and I really love that they actually bring back something that I felt like has been missing from the Kamen Rider franchise for the past many years, and that is the helmet brag. Like we haven't seen this helmet brag for a long time. I think the last time that we actually get to see a helmet brag is actually from Kamen Rider Blade. I correct me if I'm wrong, but the last ride, maybe Ixa, Kamen Rider Ixa, or maybe Kamen Rider Buff also have a little bit of helmet brag. I'm not sure, I don't really remember, but one of the most memorable one is from Kamen Rider Blade. That one is super duper good. I really love the helmet brag scene, but I also have to say it can be a little bit more anime-like. Okay, so I have been watching anime since I was a little boy, and now I am almost 30 years old, so I got a little bit of few decades of experience with me. So when I want to break down the helmet scene, I would have to say if they actually include a little bit more of Kawa screaming, a little bit more of like inner monologue, like I have to do this, like I cannot fall through, and like just see him scream and like halfway screaming, and then the helmet break, and then he's just gonna throw in. I felt like this is gonna be like way more anime, like way more impactful. I felt like the director definitely did not actually get the memo of making this 100% anime like, despite Yuya Takahashi writing is very anime-ish. Okay, so I felt like they really need to find a director that can fit very well with the idea and with the perspective of Yuya Takahashi. Especially Yuya Takahashi is someone that really love anime, and he writes story with the perspective and with the idea to make it more anime-like. So I felt like the director needs to up their game as well in this department to make it more anime-ish as well. But with that being said, I felt like the opening song, the opening scene in this episode of Kamen Rider Geats is really good. Like this, it is so cinematic. I love that they actually added the black bar into the scene itself and make it so cinematic with just a simple toolbar. You can make everything look so cinematic, and that is not the only thing that was being changed in the entirety of the scene to make it more cinematic. The depth of field, the aperture of the camera was also changed. I think it went from maybe f8 to f1.8 or something like that, because if you actually pay attention throughout the entire series, throughout the entire episode of Kamen Rider Geats, episode 19, just episode 19 itself, I felt like you can hardly see anything that is out of focus. What does this mean? That means that most of the time they are gonna record their video in a maximum aperture, like infinity aperture mode. It's kind of like using a GoPro to record something. Everything is gonna be in focus, and that is gonna make things a little bit less cinematic. But with the opening scene, they added a little bit of aperture switching, maybe to a 1.8 or 2.8, make it have a little bit of bokeh here and there, and in the black bar, I felt like, wow, this is definitely gonna be really amazing. And oh, I just love it. I know I started off the video by commenting how the director can do a better job, and then follow up with another comment of how amazing the opening scene actually is. But I felt like if they can just mix the two in together to make it into a cinematic anime thing, I felt like it's gonna be really amazing. But with that being said, let us talk about the plot, because the plot is what we are really interested about. But I just want to mention a few things that I find really convenient for the plot. The first thing is Gigan Shooter. Holy shit, that is like so convenient. Out of nowhere, the builder Rice Buckle is able to summon the gun of Magnum itself. So I was like, the fuck, why is it so convenient? It's like I feel like they need to have a proper explanation for this, because in my mind, like maybe there's only like 3 weapons for the built Rice Buckle itself. We got the sword, we got obviously the hammer, and another one is the blaster. So those are the 3 weapons, and then out of nowhere they actually introduced the Gigan shooter for Geats itself. So I felt like maybe Geats created the Gigan shooter by himself, but I just felt like they are trying to sell more toy, and that is why the introduction of the Gigan shooter itself. Another thing I just want to quickly mention is, why the hell is the Game Master doing inside the tent of Daichi itself? I felt like the way how the Game Master actually appears from the Daichi's tent, and like how he was like talking about stuff and all those stuff, and then right after the Game Master leave Daichi's tent, we actually see Daichi went into the tent and start to kind of like look around the tent to find that whether or not something is missing or not. So I find it really interesting that Daichi is actually the one that got voted out in this episode of Kamen Rider Geats. And we also learned that he is not in fact the disaster. So that is really good news for all of us. I felt like the best candidate right now has to be Neon Kurama, because I feel like I did not actually explain it properly in my previous 2 videos when I talked about the disaster video and all those stuff, but I really feel like Neon Kurama can actually be the disaster. Partly is because like in part 1, in first arc of the story, we actually get to see that she is very timid, she's very weak, she doesn't have any momentum, she doesn't have any, like, how do I say, initiative to do anything. Like, she is very passive until the very last game itself. Then we actually start to see that, hey, she's actually taking this seriously. She wants to win the game, she wants to be the disaster. And then in the second arc of the story, we actually get to see the growth of Nago. We actually get to see Neon becoming someone that doesn't call S by S-sama anymore, but she actually started to call S by S only. So this is something that we actually get to see from Neon. She's able to play an active role in the story. She's able to make her own call. She's able to stand up on herself. She doesn't rely on other people. But yes, like when she still need help, she'll ask for help. But she doesn't rely. She doesn't like, how do I stick behind someone and just kind of like play like the timid cat, something like that. But she actually grows to become a brave cat. She become Puss in Boots, okay, not Puss in something else. So that is something really interesting that I actually noticed about the character of Neon Kurama. And in this third arc, we actually get to see throughout the entire episode that we get from the third arc so far, she is actually hiding behind Lopo itself. Like, she is hiding behind Lobo, like talking to her, like ensuring Lobo will not suspect her, like ensuring Lopo will be the one that is gonna defend her at all costs. And that is something that I find really interesting about Neon, because Neon is, I feel like her character just went back to her first arc after I see what happened to her in the third arc itself. But then again, this is just my observation. I'm not so sure whether or not this is the truth, or this is just like something that I just think too much or something like that. But let me know in the comment section below, and you can comment like, hey, what the hell, man, you are just thinking too much, stop it with the stupid theory about Neon being the disaster. Let me know, okay? Let me know in the comment section below. But also at the same time, let me know what is your thought. Who could it actually be the disaster? Obviously, there's another option of not having a disaster at all, but I feel like it is gonna be a little bit anticlimactic if that is the case. The next thing I want to talk about here is Keiwa meeting up with Kera, because I felt like that is really unexpected for me to actually see Keiwa meeting with his supporters so fast, like out of nowhere. In the photo that we actually got in the magazine itself, it was being shown to us that Keiwa was actually talking to Kekera, not actually in the the space of Kekera, but they are actually talking in the lounge area of the DGP itself. So I felt like maybe they actually switch it up a little bit, because it doesn't make sense for Kekera to go into the lounge area and talk to Keiwa without anyone knowing. But Keiwa going to meet Kekera make much more sense itself. But another thing about this meeting is to give us a confirmation of how Kekera has been assisting Keiwa since the beginning. That means Keiwa is not chosen by random to enter, to participate in the DGP itself, but I felt like Kekera himself was actually the one that chose Keiwa of all the people in the world to join the DGP, because he saw that Keiwa is someone that is a good boy, and he's someone that actually want to wish for war, peace, and all those stuff. And that's why Kekera invested more and more into Keiwa, and that is really, really amazing. I really love it. Next thing I want to talk about is obviously gonna be Geats meeting up with Buffa. That is so unexpected. I thought that Buffa is gonna be the one to make contact. I did not expect Geats is the one to make contact with Buffa, but we also learned from Buffa what he wanted to do. Okay, like Buffa doesn't actually want to join the Team Yamato. He also doesn't want to go back to the DGP itself. So what is Buffa gonna do now? We are not sure. Like if the game producer doesn't step in and force him to go back to the Yamato war, I'm really wondering what is he gonna do. But by the end of this episode, we know that Buffa was being captured by the game producer and he was being thrown back into the Yamato war. And based on what we saw in the next episode preview, we are actually gonna see Buffa meeting up with some other people or some other Yamato mutants from the Yamato war itself. We are gonna learn more about that, and maybe we're gonna see Buffa officially joining the side of Team Yamato to fight against the Rider team itself based on the next episode preview, because we actually get to see Buffa using the Yamato Rice Buckle fighting with other riders. So that is gonna be really interesting for us to see. Next episode is gonna be lit. Okay, let me just tell you that next episode is gonna be really amazing. But we need to talk about the Yamato. The Yamato is actually raised and born by all the ID core that was planted on the ground itself. Like the tree itself was already there. The thing that is like giving its nutrient, giving the Yamato a new brain, a possibility of mutation, is the existence of the ID core itself. So you could actually say the ID core are the fertilizer to create more unique, or should I say a mutant Yamato for the game itself. And we learned that in this episode there can actually be more than one Shiroe. So that is something really unexpected. I would say maybe there's only one Shiroe, which is the Rogue, and then the other Yamato Rider. Actually, what did they do is they imitate the look of Shiroe, or it could actually be the possibility that there are a lot of possibility that the rider can just be reborn once over and over again until the ID core was being sucked up dry or something like that. Or maybe that is never gonna happen. We are not sure how the ID core actually works, how it was being developed, but this is something really interesting. Okay, but lastly I just have to say goodbye, Sparrow. This is an insane episode. This episode is really good. I really love it. Next episode is definitely gonna be way more interesting, but it is gonna be a new game, so we are not sure what game is it gonna be. Something about bomb that we actually get to see, so maybe it's gonna be a little bit like the game where we play like DDT. I'm not sure how many of you know about DDT, but it's gonna be really fun. But that is all from me regarding Kamen Rider Geats episode 19. Lastly, before I leave, I just want to say once again, Happy Chinese New Year, and I'm really looking forward for all of your support in the upcoming year. Goodbye and God bless.